Okay, so now we're going to get into the actual lesson. So first things first, in number 1, we have a tape diagram. And it wants us to shade the first 7 units of the tape diagram. But before we do so, I just want to count how many pieces this tape diagram has. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we know that there's 10 pieces. Sorry, I'm just erasing those dots. So out of those 10 pieces, they want us to shade the first 7 units of the tape diagram. So I'm going to do so now. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so the next part of the question says count by tenths to label the number line using a fraction and a decimal for each point. So what I'm going to start by doing is doing the fractions first. So this first part on the number line, that's 1/10 because we know that there's 10 pieces, so that first one is going to be 1/10. The next one is going to be 2/10. The next one would be, the next one would be 3/10. Then 4/10, 5/10, 6/10. That is a 6, but I'll fix it. 6/10, and then 7/10. We're going to keep going even though we stop shading. We'll just complete the whole number line. The next would be 8/10, and then 9/10. So let's go and discuss how we change the fraction into a decimal. So if we have 1/10, anything to the left of the decimal point is going to be our whole numbers. In 1/10, we don't have a whole number, so that is where the 0 comes into play. So we have 0 whole numbers, and our fraction is going to be 1/10. So if we look at the decimal place value chart, we know that the tenths place is right next to the decimal point, the first place after the decimal point. So we go back here, that's why it's 0 and 1/10. The 1 would go in the tenths place. So for 2/10, it's 0 wholes and the decimal point, 2 in the tenths place to represent 2/10. And if I was to continue going that way, we have 3/10, so that's 0 and 3/10. Then we have 0 and 4/10. And I'm just going to complete the rest of it following that pattern. Okay, and we do go all the way to 0.9, and then it's 1 whole. Okay, so then it wants us to circle the decimal that represents the shaded part. So the shaded part is 7 pieces. So that would mean it's 7 out of 10 pieces, so 7/10. So the decimal point is right here. Then we're going to get into number 2, where it says write the total amount of water in fraction form and decimal form. We're just going to do the first 2 because that's the most important part in understanding it. We'll worry about shading when we go into our Zern lesson later. But for the first one on this second question, we're going to look at the tick marks, okay? So those tick marks on the bottle is also going to be 10 pieces. So what we need to do is we need to count the pieces until we get to the top of that water line. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 out of the 10 tick marks. So that means 6/10. And that would be 0 wholes and, so the decimal point, 6/10. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 8/10. And it would be written as 0.8. So 0 wholes and 8/10 of a liter.